Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Stereotypes, practical ways to engage and motivate young dental professionals. My name is Jamie Morley, and I am a leadership coach who focuses on the dental sector and working with dental and orthodontic practices. I'm sure you've heard it or even thought it yourself. These young people, they just don't have the same work ethic that we used to have. Actually, that's not really the case. And one thing I wanted to do in this video is to kind of bust that myth and also talk about what you can do as a leader to actually engage, motivate, and inspire the younger people in your dental practice. In the video, I'm going to cover three areas. The first area is to talk about, well, what are the characteristics of the younger people today? Really, what does the data and evidence suggest? And secondly, I talk and bust one specific myth of what they are not. And then thirdly, I'm going to give you six different ways, things that you can do as a leader to engage and motivate and inspire your younger dental professionals. Okay, so first up, let's talk a little bit about the characteristics of the younger dental professionals. Now, to be specific in terms of demographic labels, we are really talking about Gen Z type. Gen Z, that's the demographic group that are currently aged 18 to 28 as of us doing this video, which is in November 2025. So that group is known as Gen Z. So that's what we're going to focus on for the sake of this video and this blog, is what are the characteristics of that group. Now, one thing I really like to make clear when talking about anything like this, anything like personality profiling, anything where you're giving a kind of a description to a group of people, is we have to be uber careful not to pigeonhole people into these groups. Okay? So it's useful to understand some typical characteristics, but remember, we are all individuals. And also not to pigeonhole people, because although these are characteristics, it doesn't mean that people can't behave in very different ways. Okay, so, but this is useful for us to help us understand this group. And so that's the first thing I'm going to do, is share with you 6 characteristics that are widely shown in the research to be true of Gen Z. 6 characteristics that are widely shown are as follows. Firstly, that Gen Z have a preference for purpose and values. So when it comes to who they work for and where they work, yes, money is important to them. And at the same level, purpose and values of who they're working for are just as important. Unlike previous generations where it was more about the money, nowadays, these people really care about purpose and values of who they work for. The second one, which is probably a bit of a surprise to you, because you both think, oh, I don't know what to say to these people. I can't give them any feedback. They're very touchy. Actually, that's not true. This group wants feedback and wants growth and wants development. So Gen Z people want a lot of coaching, a lot of growth, a lot of feedback, a lot of opportunity development. Doing a one-off appraisal once a year is not acceptable for this group. They want continuous feedback that's both positive and negative, a balanced feedback, and they want to grow and develop. Right, it's really, really important to them. Third thing, not a surprise, I'm sure, to many of you, is they are technologically fluent. This is the first group that really grew up with technology, and so they know how to use tech, and they expect you and your practice to use tech to communicate and as part of the practice. Fourthly, work-life balance and well-being is important to them. They've probably seen their parents grow up with not much of that, and they don't want that. They want a balance. So we have to be respectful of that. Fifthly, number 5 is they demand diversity and inclusivity. This is really important to them. And then number 6, be open and honest and authentic. They don't deal well with hiding stuff, and they will find out stuff as well because they can these days. So be open, honest, and authentic. Trust is everything for this group. Okay. So these are the 6 characteristics of Gen Z. One thing that is not true, a common phrase, as I alluded to at the beginning, or reference people make to this group, is that they're lazy. They are not lazy. What we have to look at instead is our own leadership and how we are engaging and motivating this group. When they are part of a practice where they really feel inspired by the purpose and the values of the group, and all the things that we talked about above are met, actually they are really hardworking, dedicated, fast, capable people who can really make a big contribution. So actually this Gen Z is not about looking at them, but it's about us and how we're creating an environment in which they will work really hard and be really committed to the group. Okay, so this is a myth I want to dispel about them being lazy. They're not. 6 ways in which you can actually really lead and motivate and inspire this group. The first one is about mindset, and I talk about mindset a lot, but I think it's particularly relevant with this group. When I speak to people about it, it's almost like they kind of feel like they don't have any, they can't have any impact on this group of people. When you are leading this group of people, you can have impact. You do have agency to have an impact and to motivate, lead, and inspire them. And sometimes it just feels like that's not possible. Well, it is, right? They're no different to any other team member in that they're a human being and you can motivate and inspire them. It's working out what will work for this group. All right. So change our mindset is that you do have agency to have an impact and to motivate and inspire this young group of dental professionals. Related to this is be really aware of confirmation bias. I wanted to try and dispel some of these myths about this young group, because what happens with confirmation bias is we see what we want to see. So if we see someone, a young dental professional, if you see a young dental professional in your practice being lazy, you'll go, oh, see, I told you so, they're being lazy. Whereas if you then see them being really hardworking or really committed, you'll just delete that. You won't even notice it, because that goes against your belief. So we have to kind of completely have a clean slate every time when we're looking at people's behaviors, and specifically with this group, to put aside all those beliefs and to just look at what you're observing, what you're noticing. So be really, really aware of confirmation bias and treat every interaction with a fresh slate, and not having this confirmation bias going on that influences your perception, your decision making. So mindset, really important. You have agency, and be aware of confirmation bias. Have a really clean slate when you go into all the interactions, and that you can influence and motivate and inspire this group. Feedback, coaching, and growth. Yes, they want it, and they want it regularly and consistently. So they want to have feedback. They want it to be balanced with both good feedback and bad feedback, but they want feedback. They want to know how they're doing, and they want that feedback. Having a one-time conversation once a year is not okay and doesn't work for this group at all. So we constantly have to give them feedback and talk about their growth, coach them to help them improve, to get them to take ownership. And this also relates into the final bit, which is the other bit of this, which is about development. They want to see that they can grow and develop, and that there's a kind of pathway for them to grow. And in dental practices, this is often lacking. And people say, well, there's nowhere for them to go. We can't, I haven't got it's only a small business. We can't do that. Well, actually you can create steps for people. So a nurse, for example, could go on to become a practice manager. And what's the pathway for that? Well, they could move from nurse to a TCA to give us a sales and marketing experience. And then they could actually move into maybe a senior nurse role or do that first. So they get some experience managing people, then into a TCO. But you can see, and then they move on into be a practice manager. And you can see a pathway. So we have to help people see a pathway to grow. That doesn't have to just be in position. It can just be their own personal development. But they want to know that they can grow and evolve. All right, so this is very important for this group as well. So lots of coaching, lots of feedback, and then thinking about how you can develop and grow different people in different ways. 3, values and purpose. I don't need to repeat how many times I talk to people about having clarity on your values as a practice. You must get clarity around that. Involve these people into that conversation. Get their input, get their perspective if you don't already have clarity on your values as a practice. If you do, talk to them about those values. Talk to them about their own personal values and see how they fit into the values of the practice. Well, what happens if the values are completely different? Well, there's always going to be a level of tension between individual values and the values of where people are working. And so that's okay. There will be a level of overlap where people will though start to see how their values align, and that makes them feel good that they're part of a place where their values are aligned to their own. So this is great. And sometimes they won't be. And if they're completely different, well, in all honesty, it's probably better for them and for you as the dental practice owner or practice manager that they don't work there. So it's better to have that conversation, to be aware of it, to see that that's not a good fit, but majority of the time you will see that there is overlap and that they can really connect into what the practice is about, what it stands for. And that makes them feel good and motivated and inspired to be part of it. Likewise, for the purpose, is something often that's taken for granted in dental practices and orthodontic practice, what you actually do. And the impact it has on people is really significant, and how it makes people feel and what your purpose is, what you do as a practice. It's to talk about this, to bring it back to this and consistently communicate around this point. So these values and purpose have to become central to what you do and communicate around them and really live them. So values and purpose. Boundaries. Have boundaries. When I talk about boundaries, I mean it from both sides, for your side and from their side. From their side, be really clear about expectations in terms of boundaries. For example, work time. You have to respect the work boundaries for these people. They don't want to be distracted outside of certain parameters. And so to have clear expectations of what that might be. And if there is some expectations to answer in certain times outside of work hours, have that conversation and agree what that is. Have that built into it. But you can't expect it just to be all encompassing into their lives, because they don't generally like this. So you have to have that conversation and then really respect their boundaries. At the same time, I think sometimes we're afraid to go in terms of the other way, in that because they're this younger generation, we don't kind of have tough conversations with them. And you still must be very clear about feedback and keeping boundaries in the same way as to what their behaviors are, especially when it comes to values, and making sure that those behaviors do respect the values of the practice. And you are telling them and giving them, having difficult conversations with them when they don't. So clear boundaries for you, clear boundaries for them in terms of time in particular, but just making sure that you respect their boundaries, and also you keep the boundaries in terms of what's okay and what's not okay from your side in terms of behaviors. Don't shy away from that. Still have those same conversations. And in the same way, give really great feedback when they're doing things that really live those values. So that all ties in back into the feedback piece as well. So boundaries, really, really important. Be honest and open. They want honesty, they want authenticity, and they want to know what's going on. Share as much as you possibly can. I know people are reluctant to, but honestly, share. Be open. Be open about the practice. Be open about yourself as well. You're not this leader who's like, this strong lead, this not even strong. It's like this perfect leader who doesn't have their own challenges. And share some of those. Show some level of vulnerability, because that's authentic and that's real. And that's what the younger generation wants. They want authenticity and real. So involve them, talk about the practice, get them engaged in discussion, involve them, include them in discussions. So you're being open and honest and get their involvement in it. Right, so share about you and your practice and have discussions. Be open, get their input and listen to them. Finally, give them time. Sometimes dental practices are running at a really, really fast rate, and we end up not giving people time. Again, a one-to-one every 6 months is not enough. These people want to have time, not just to talk about their jobs and their roles, but also about them. What is important to them? How can you grow and develop them? Giving them feedback consistently, but also just talking about them, getting to know them, getting to really connect with them. Okay, it's really important. So give them time, create time. Don't say, I don't have time. You need to find time. Give time to these people. If you think about what it means about them staying, being part of your practice, no more recruitment, you've got consistent, good staffing, engaged staff, it's worth the time and effort to give them time. All right. So hopefully giving you those key characteristics of Gen Z. Hopefully that's now clear what Gen Z are not. And then 6 different ways in which you can really lead and inspire and motivate young dental professionals in your dental practice. My overall summary is that modern, like old school leadership doesn't work with this group. You can't be like aggressive. You can't be really micromanaging. You can't be totally dictatorial. It's not the way to inspire this group. You have to be empathetic. You have to be with people. You have to support and help them to grow. You have to coach, help them develop. It's a new way of leadership, and you have to be ready to and able to actually use that style of leadership. Okay. To that end, as many of you know, I do a certificate and diploma in dental practice leadership, which if you want more information on, please just click on the link below in the video. Hope that was useful. Yeah, any comments, please don't hesitate to put them in below the video. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.